Hey, it's Matt from Monty's Guitars. I'm here with guitar.com. We're going to guide you through some basic Strat setup tips so you can take your Strat from the box and get it playing just that little bit better. First thing you're going to need is some tools. So here we've got a ruler. This is a metal ruler. It's got no margin at the bottom. You can pick these up at any kind of DIY store. Again, you need your cutters. These are side cutters or piano cutters. Need some of them. You're going to need a string winder, and you're going to need an Allen key or an Allen key set of some description. And this is a 050 Allen key. Also, you need strings. The thing with strings is over time they lose their elasticity, they change, all the tensions change, and that's going to change on your guitar and make it play differently. So we need to set it up with a fresh set of strings. So let's get going. So first of all, what I'm going to do is get rid of the old strings, take them all off. Let's just slacken them off. You can not fully slacken them off, just, you know, 5-6 winds, so they're kind of dropped tuned. Grab them in the middle and cut them off. Then all the strings on these kind of vintage tuners, they just pop straight out. Then the same on the other end. I do all this with the guitar on my shoulder, just makes it easier. Thread all of the strings through. This should come out nice and easy. Okay, so now we're going to restring the guitar. Today we're using these, which are the Elixir OptiWeb 10-46 set. They're a great set of strings that are a coated string that performs like an uncoated string, which is really cool because it means that you're just not going to have to change them as often. They're not going to be affected by rust, all that kind of thing, and a little bit smooth on your fingers. So first off, get all your strings out. And what I do here is I'll string it all through the guitar in one go. I'll cut all the strings to length in one go and we'll tune it all up. So again, I run the guitar on my shoulder. And here, you're going to be running the string through the back here. Which will then come up through a little tube hole thing and come out the front. What you might find sometimes, if the saddle is in the wrong place or over the hole, you might have to just push the saddle back and then you can pull the string through. Make sure that the ball end is actually in the hole. It can catch various places. Where the wind starts, it can catch there, or it can catch with the ball end here. What can happen then is that you'll get into tuning it up and the string will be kind of relatively tight over here, kinked on the saddle, and then all of a sudden it will pop through and you'll end up with a string with a kink in it, which is never going to vibrate properly. You're going to have intonation problems, you're going to have rattling problems, all that kind of stuff. And then it's just rinse and repeat with all the other 5. So again, through the back, grab it at the front, and then make sure that the string is right up in the block. Last one. So now the next thing is we're going to cut the strings to length. These are vintage style machine heads. So what you do here is you actually put the end of the string down the center of the post. The modern styles don't pre-cut the strings, just use the same measurements, but you just pull it through, etc. We'll get onto that some other time. With the wound strings on a Strat or a Tele or anything like that, you want to cut them off at about 2.5 machine heads sort of gap. 2.5, cut, let it go. The A string, sort of 2.5, so it's just sort of halfway between the G and the B. And the D, you want it kind of somewhere between the E and the B. Now the plain strings are a little bit different. What you want is well, to be honest, quite a lot more string on this. And the reason for that is that if you don't have a huge amount of string on this post, especially the G, you end up with no break angle over this part, which is called the nut. By break angle, I mean the string comes over the nut and then goes down. If you don't have that, it's just going to sit in the slot and then it's going to kind of vibrate across it and make this kind of sitaring, zinging sound. It's also going to pop out of the string slot. You're going to create lots of problems. So this is why with the G, the B and the E, typically I would I mean, I would cut, I mean, what's that? Like even 6 machine heads along. And kind of the same with the B and the E. The main reason for that is you want the strings to go along, down, and then it will hit this, which is called a string tree. You don't want the string to then go up from the string tree. So it comes over the nut, goes down, and then you want it to go straight on or down from the string tree. So again, measure it out. I mean, with that, I literally just cut a couple of inches off the end, and the E, just like an inch or so. Now, get the string, put it into the hole, and what I do here, bend it down and wrap it around. So now I can actually put tension onto this part of the string, which means that when it goes round the post, it's not going to slip, it's going to be fine. And it's simple as just winding it on, winding every wrap down. The wrap is the string as it goes round the post of the machine head, that is the wrap. So when I'm referring to that, that's what it is. It doesn't matter that you've got, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wraps, as long as they don't overlap each other. You can see here, the string's going along, it goes down and then along to the post. The same thing with the B. Put the string in the hole, down this way, wrap it round, and then wind it down. Don't worry about the amount of winds, it doesn't matter. You just want this to go down. In fact, it's more evident on that one than the E. Now the G, again, make sure it's in the block. Now this one, you need to give it quite a lot of winds because it hasn't got a string tree. Just want a nice break angle over that nut. This one sometimes can look a little bit excessive with the winds, but you know, don't worry, it's all fine. You just don't want them crossing over each other. You can see here, it's going down, and that's not much of an angle there, and I've put a load of winds. It's going right to the bottom of the post. So if I hadn't done that, that would literally be sitting level with the nut, and you would be getting all these weird zinging noises and stuff. Cool, so now we're moving on to the wound strings. So we've got the D. It's going to need less winds on this one. So there's no need, with the wound strings, there's no need to kind of pre-wrap it around, because the winds themselves will grip onto the machine head post. Because the string's thicker as well, you get more break angle naturally, so no need to worry about that. Remember to make sure that the ball end's in the block. Finally, the E. Push it down, push down, bend it around, and away you go. Okay, so the strings are all on. Now is a perfect time to just check a few things before you go any further. First thing is the truss rod, which is a metal rod that runs down the neck and just keeps everything balanced. The way to check this is fret the first fret on whichever string you're checking. In this case, it's the low E with your first finger. Fret the 13th fret with your thumb, and you want to kind of tap over the 5th, 6th fret around there. And what you want, ideally, is about the gap of a 10 gauge string. Next, after that, what you want to do is check the height of your nut. This is the nut here. If it's too high, what you're going to feel is the strings are going to be just tough down the first sort of 3 frets. And again, unfortunately with this, you're going to need some specialist tools, so I would advise you to take it to someone who has those and has some experience to do that. So if you fret on the 4th fret, on well, this case is the high E string, and then you want to tap above the 1st fret. Now the 1st fret, ideally you want to have just like a hair of a break between the string and the fret, and that's about it. And it kind of goes gradually a little bit further up as you go down the gauges. If it's massive, it's a big old gap, then you need to get it sorted out. The guitar will never play in tune and it will really hurt your hands. The other thing is all this saddle stuff here, which is one of the contributing factors to your action. But the thing is, the problem with all of this is that this links to this and links to this. So if you can't just adjust one, you have to do it all at the same time. But as this is a basic thing, we are just going through a few of the other options. So the last thing to do is to check your intonation. Your intonation will change at every time you change your strings. This is a really, really simple process. Play the harmonic on the 12th, here we're using the low E. Get that in tune, and then you want to fret the 12th fret. Now here, The fretted note is slightly flat, it's only slightly. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move the saddle forward. So the rhyme to remember this is if the fretted note is flat, you move it forwards, okay? And then if it's sharp, you move it backwards. It's not as easy a rhyme, but you know, you'll get it. So, harmonic, fretted note, very, very slightly flat. So I'm loosening off the saddle so it moves forward. This will then alter the pitch, so you'll need to tune it again. Okay, so that is spot on, and we can move on to the next. So it's literally, it's rinse and repeat, same process with each one. That's all good. Okay, so the intonation is all done. Now, the final thing that's easy to look at is the whammy bar, which you have on a Strat, which is all this part here. And this alters the tension on the strings, which then gives you kind of a vibrato effect. Now, the best way to check this is with your volume turned down and then just depress the arm. But what you'll hear, what you'll hear is if the string is pinching anywhere, you'll hear like creaking. What that means is the string is gripping somewhere. Typically it's in the nut, or if the string's going over the nut and then coming underneath the string tree and pulling up, that's another place where friction can occur, and that can also lead to tuning instabilities and the string gripping there. So as this. Voila, it's all done. That's some basic tips to guide you through the first kind of steps with your Strats. But as I said earlier, if you're still getting intonation problems, things are a little bit tricky, you've checked the nut and that kind of stuff, and things are feeling a little bit off, all you need to do is to take it to a tech and they can sort all of that stuff out for you. And then you're golden, banging.